Dear diary, I'm tired, sleepy, I'm irritated. I'm down a pound, down to 133.6, so I'm back on track. I don't want to quit, but I do want to quit. It's day 13. I feel better than I did yesterday, though. Last night, I feel better than I did last night. I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't come on this late at night because I be in the worst mood when it's time for me to go to sleep. When I'm tired, still didn't get no weed, still didn't get my hair done, still didn't get my nails done. I've been sleeping, 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 sleeping because it just feels so good. Like when I get out of here, I'm going straight to sleep. I'm tired of everything. I don't want to quit. I had the shakes earlier. I'm just tired of being tired. And it's like, okay, I could be tired from fasting or I could be tired from food. It's the same thing. I could not get my house clean from fasting, or I could not get my house clean from eating too much. I remember when my car used to be so trashed. My house used to be so trashed before I got LASIK and before I started losing weight. It was like, this is ridiculous. Now I think back about it like, I never want to go back to the way I used to live. Like, what the hell? I took some oil today. THC agave. I took the orange, 2 scoops of the orange flavored Dr. Bird's electrolyte powder, and that had a lot of magnesium in it. Not 100% for the day, but it was enough to get the shakes to go away, I'm sure. The sugar, I'm sick to my stomach of it. Sicker to my stomach of the stevia because I like saying it like that. I'll be getting sometimes I get sick of the pickle juice, but that's after a couple of shots. I'm like, yeah, I'm done with this too. Then I get to thinking I'm done with spices. Period. I'm never going back. When I go off of this fast, I'm not gonna eat any more salt. I'm not gonna. I mean, not salt. Damn it, I gotta eat salt. I probably gotta eat sugar too. But anyway, I don't want either one of them, but I don't want no flavor in my food. I just want bland, bland, bland. I'm just irritated with fucking everything. Everything except for weed. Comedy is good for my mood. This, I didn't want to do this. I'm lying. But if I break this cycle, this streak of even showing up, then I may as well just be like, I don't know. It would just be disappointing. Never thought I'd see the countdown timer come to 3 weeks. 3 weeks, 6 days, an hour, 30 minutes, and counting. And I'm just like, well, at least this is gone for the most part. Still on the sides. It's gonna take a long time for the rest of this stuff to leave. But I got enough to do. Like I said, it's like I should just think, hey, What about the last day? The last day is gonna be crazy cool. I'm gonna finally be able to say I did it, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be able to really quit because Skull is like 95 pounds, 100 to 95, something like that. Then I'm gonna have to start over after I quit. So tomorrow I'm gonna go get my weed for real. Hopefully I'll be 132 point something tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of nervous because I never did 40 days before, mainly. But it's like, it's okay. It's okay. It should be okay. As long as I keep putting the minerals in, I believe I'll be okay. And, oh, let's check out this video about some symptoms of I'm being cold. My air is on 82 degrees, and sometimes I be cold. Sometimes it can be 85 degrees in here, and I'm cold. And I think I need more iron, but I think it's a combination of the fast, the weed, and being short. So let's check out this video because I can't think of nothing else right now. I'm loopy a little. I want to go to sleep right now, but I want to learn something before I go to sleep. But my brain's like, shut up, stop doing it. No, I don't want to break this fast the wrong way, and I don't want to. I don't know. I just need to know everything before it's over.
That issue. So it varies so widely. But the people that do get cold when they fast, they always tend to think that it's the fasting slowing down their metabolism and that's why they're getting cold. No, 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 not at all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And when you understand the mechanism of action within the body and why you're getting cold, it's actually really, really cool, no pun intended. But you can understand that it's helping you. And I also have a quick hack to help you get around that. Hey, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and then hit that little bell icon to turn on notifications. We literally have videos coming out just about every single day these days, all the time. We are the most comprehensive channel when it comes down to intermittent fasting and a pretty darn comprehensive channel with everything else health and keto related. After you watch this video, please check out my Thrive Market fasting box. So I've assembled foods that I think are great for breaking a fast or to eat during your fasting period in general, and I've assembled them into a Thrive grocery box. So Thrive's an online grocery store. So after you watch this video, you can head on over there and get the foods that I would recommend in a simple grocery box delivered right to your door. So check them out. Okay, so here's what's going on. Let me just lead right in with a study that was published in Nature Communications Journal in 2016. When you are fasting, what's happening is it's a migration, or should I say, sort of the fat in your body just developing properties of a different kind of fat. So what this study did is it took a look at fasted mice. Now they found that when these mice were fasting, the white adipose tissue, okay, the normal belly fat, started taking on properties of visceral fat. Now, at first that sounds really bad because you think visceral fat's unhealthy. Why would we want that? But no, what's going on is the body's going to preferentially burn that. Okay, the body wants to burn visceral fat, and I'll talk more about that later. But the reason that you're getting cold is because normally when you're burning fat, fat has some what are called brown properties, brown fat properties, which means that they have specific proteins called uncoupling proteins that allow a specific generation of heat to occur from the mitochondria. So what that would mean is normally our fat emits a little bit of almost a vibration that generates some heat. So what's happening is our fat actually changes from an adipose tissue into a visceral tissue. So what happens is it no longer has the ability to generate heat. So all it is doing is it's migrating that fat into a different kind of fat, which therefore makes it so we get cold. So this is likely a mechanism to ultimately conserve heat, okay? So basically what's going on is the body saying, well, I don't want to turn on this brown fat mechanism that generates heat because we want to keep the heat within the body. So in an effort to actually create more heat, we feel less heat. So does that make sense? What's happening is the fat is moving over to a different kind of fat, and you're feeling the effects of the fat basically migrating over. Once it is in the visceral form and it's migrated to become a different kind of fat, fasting therefore burns that fat. And it burns that fat 6 times faster. Yes, fasting burns 6 times as much visceral fat as other fat. So not only is fasting amazing for getting rid of the damaging, dangerous visceral fat, it's also powerful when it comes down to burning fat in the first place. So essentially the reason we're feeling cold is because the fat that would normally generate heat is getting turned into a fat that is getting burned for fuel instead. So pick your poison. Would you rather have some fat that makes you feel a little bit warm, or would you rather have some fat that allows you to feel cold but goes away faster? Now this study was pretty interesting, but we can take it a step further by looking at some stuff that was published in scientific reports in 2018 surrounding the world of orexin. Okay, now orexin is a neurotransmitter and it's stimulated by specific neurons. Now what this study found was that when mice were fasting, if they had suppressed levels of orexin, they would end up having a lower body temperature while they were fasting. What does this really mean? It means that if you had less levels of orexin, you would get more cold. You would get colder while you fast. So they did this. They took mice that had suppressed levels of orexin and they took regular mice and they had them both fast. Well, the mice with low orexin got way colder. So what this tells us is that this neurotransmitter may play a big role in how our body temperature is when we fast. And again, it's a conservation mechanism, right? Because orexin is stimulated when we eat food. So when we eat food, normally orexin levels would elevate. Of course, we're fasting, so we're not stimulating orexin. Now here's the interesting thing. Every single person has a different level of orexin-producing neurons, which would exactly explain why some people get more cold than others. Because some people have enough orexin where it doesn't really bother them, but some people already have naturally low levels of orexin, so when they do fast, their temperature drops significantly. Now, how do you get around this? There's a cool hack. There's 2 real ways that you can stimulate orexin, okay? Through eating food, which you definitely can't do when you're fasting, but also caffeine does this. So coffee would be a great way to stimulate orexin because any kind of arousal or stimulation like that will generally stimulate some orexin. Okay, so coffee is going to be twofold. You get a warm beverage, it's of course going to warm you up, but then you get the orexin effect from the caffeine, which is going to make it so that those neurons are actually producing orexin, that neurotransmitter, which elevates your temperature or at least makes you immune to the hypothermic effect of fasting. So now we know that you're not losing your metabolism when you're fasting. No, you're burning fat and you're literally getting cold because your body is directing energy over to a different kind of fat to burn rather than directing energy to a fat to keep you warm. So I hope this debunks it and makes it so you can feel comfortable fasting and know that every time you're getting cold, you're actually doing yourself a service. As always, keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you in the next video.
Endorsed by President Donald.
Alright, that was interesting. Learned something. My stomach don't hurt as bad. But let's see if I can find one more video about fasting too much. Did I see the video? Which one's to pick? Which one's to pick? This one and the other one. It was some more on the last one when I typed in how to know when you're fasting too much. It was like a billion videos. I'm like, really? Everybody knows when you're fasting too much, huh? So let's see. 2 more videos and then I'm
Hey everyone, Tom Stilauer here. In today's video, you're going to learn the 5 clear signs that you're fasting a tad too much. I love intermittent fasting, but it's easy to do it a little bit too much. So we'll talk about your weight loss stalling. We'll talk about getting a little bit too cold all the time. Then we'll talk about feeling sore and stiff as a byproduct of fasting too much. We'll also talk about your face getting bloated and some of that water retention that you get. And then we'll talk about, well, your daily ritual, how that can get thrown off. But anyhow, after this video, you have a clear knowledge of if you're fasting a tad too much, but also practical solutions. Hey, I do ask that you go ahead and hit that red subscribe button, and then please do hit that bell icon to turn on notifications. We post videos just about every single day, and you don't want to miss them. Okay, first off, the European Journal of Sports Science did publish a study that found that people that had their eating window reduced to 4 hours generally consumed 650 calories less. Now, that doesn't mean that this is everybody, but it's a good indicator that, well, if we're fasting every day, there's a good chance we're probably consuming a tad too few calories. So that leads me to point number 1. Your weight loss has stalled. You've hit a plateau. Well, what the heck is going on? There's actually a very simple explanation. Leptin. Okay, leptin is the hormone that communicates to your brain that it has fuel on hand. But if we reduce our calories too much, that leptin signal starts to go away. Leptin calls up the brain and says, hey, we have plenty of fat on hand. Go ahead and turn up that metabolism. But if we're dieting too much, that leptin level goes down and no longer tells the brain to rev up the metabolism. So the brain slows down the metabolism. However, for you nerds out there that really like the sciencey piece, leptin does need to be low in order to burn fat. But the operative word there is acutely, okay? It means that you have to have short-term drops in leptin. So short, spontaneous, sporadic caloric reduction via fasting, not fasting every single day. Okay? What happens then is your leptin levels drop so much that your overall metabolism drops. But if we fast periodically, like a couple times per week, and it's sporadic, then we drop our leptin really quick, we burn some fat, and then it comes right back to normal, rather than just reducing our caloric need day over day over day. Additionally, your thyroid levels, right? We have to remember that. If you reduce your calories too much via fasting, your thyroid levels will drop. Now, important to note, lower levels of thyroid are actually associated with longevity and better organ health, but it's not exactly the best thing for weight loss, right? So again, it comes right back down to fasting just 2 to 3 days per week, just making it spontaneous, making it sporadic, reducing those calories dramatically. Symptom number 2, this is one that I've experienced a lot, soreness, but more obvious is the stiffness. You feel stiff all the time? I mean, you feel good metabolically, but you're just feeling like your joints and your muscles are stiff. All right, it's usually a fact that you're not getting enough protein because you're not meeting that protein demand because you're fasting. Whether you like it or not, fasting is somewhat catabolic. Your body is breaking down its own tissues. Now, this is okay because you want it to break down old, decrepit cells and things like that. But it becomes a problem if you go so far that your body cannot meet its protein demand. Now, this is all relative to your activity level. If you're a very active person, you probably need more protein. If you're not that active, you might not need that much. So the issue that I run into is when I work out, I'm breaking down my muscle and I need protein to repair it. Now, fasting is awesome and it does allow a lot of hormonal benefit to building muscle. But if I'm not getting enough protein during my actual eating period, then I'm in a negative nitrogen balance and my body is going to break down. And the first way that I'm going to feel that, outside of maybe losing muscle, is going to be stiffness and not recovering from my workouts. So the answer there is simple. During your eating window, eat more protein. But on the days that you're not fasting, make sure that you're eating more protein to at least make up for it. I recommend ButcherBox down below. They're a big sponsor of this channel, so you can get grass-fed, grass-finished beef and meat delivered right to your doorstep. In my opinion, it's cheaper than most grocery stores, and it is way, way, way convenient because it comes right to your doorstep. So save some money, save the time, and save the money of going to the grocery store, but also it's just good quality meat, and it's what I would generally recommend. So go ahead, there's a link down below after you finish watching this video, but don't let it stop you from finishing this video, because it's gonna be there even after you finish. Okay, symptom number 3 is feeling cold all the time. Now, it's normal to feel cold during a fast. In fact, it's a sign of the fast working, believe it or not. I have other videos on that I'll link down below. But here's what's happening. Okay, when you're feeling cold during a fast, it's because your regular body fat, okay, the fat that's just unsightly and on your body, it takes on properties of visceral fat, which sounds so terrible because visceral fat really is bad. So why would we want our regular fat to take on properties of visceral fat? Well, because studies have shown that visceral fat preferentially gets burned during a fast. It was a study that was published in Journal of Nature Communications, and it was really wild. Basically, when subjects would fast, their regular fat, the regular white adipose tissue, would take on properties of visceral fat. Now, the negative side of that is visceral fat doesn't have thermogenic properties. What that simply means is visceral fat doesn't generate heat. So while we're fasting, we turn regular body fat into visceral fat. We're not generating much heat, which is why we feel cold. But after the fast, that stops, that reverses. It's kind of complicated to say, but the point is it's normal to feel cold during a fast, but after a fast, you shouldn't feel cold anymore. And if you find that the coldness feeling is just extending beyond your fast, it's an indicator that your body's having a hard time rebooting from that process. And that can not only be uncomfortable, but it can also be dangerous. You don't want too much visceral fat to build. Okay? You want that visceral fat to build during a fast, but also get burned during a fast, essentially. It's kind of paraphrasing, but the point is, if you're cold all the time, you're probably fasting too much. This next one is maybe your face feels bloated. Maybe you feel like you're holding on to a bunch of water, which is usually an indicator of dehydration. Okay? It's pretty simple. When you're fasting, you lose water. Therefore, you lose electrolytes. You lose the most potassium, between 500 and 600 milligrams per day. Then you lose a bunch of sodium, 300 to 400 milligrams. Then you usually lose a fair bit of magnesium, between 200 and 300 milligrams, but if you're more active, you're going to oxidize more. Point is, you're losing minerals. And then you refeed during your eating window, and maybe you replace those minerals, maybe you don't. Point is, cumulatively, over time, you end up with a mineral imbalance, which can make you hold water, it can make you feel depleted, or it can just do the opposite, where you get those circles in your eyes, which you've probably seen in some of my videos before at the end of a long fast, right? It's just natural. But if it extends all the time, then you know you have an issue. So look at your face. Is it bloated? Do you feel like you're holding water? Do you feel dehydrated? Do you feel like you cannot hydrate no matter what? Take a little break from fasting and revisit it a few days per week. And lastly, a very important thing to mention, your bowel movements are disrupted. You should be on a pretty general ritual, right? Okay? You get up, you go through your routine, maybe it's then, maybe it's later in the day, whatever. You should be on a routine. The fact is, fasting does break down the mucosal layer of the gut. And when you break down the mucosal layer of the gut, that's all good, but when you eat a bunch of food afterwards, it breaks it down and it can be hard on it. This disrupts the whole process and it can cause digestive discomfort. It's not a big deal once in a while, but if you fast every day and you go through this constant cycle of rinsing and repeating, break down, and then destroy it with a bunch of food all of a sudden. Break down and destroy it with a bunch of food all of a sudden. Then 3-4 weeks of that, you're going to have a pretty weak gut. Okay, you need to, again, sporadic and spontaneously fast to get the effect on the gut and then let it heal. Just like when you train a muscle. You break it down in the gym and then you rebuild it. Don't forget to keep it locked in my channel. See you tomorrow.
Apparently, the mic wasn't even on when I was playing the video. Replay the video. I heard it all. I'm going to bed now. I'm very happy about what I've learned today. I'm going to bed now. I'm tired. I'm gonna go try to drink some of this Gatorade before I go to sleep. I saw a video on what to do if you get nausea, and they said something about baking soda and sea salt. So I got this other electrolyte mineral jar that I was feeling like I should throw this in the trash. But I'm not gonna do it now, especially after they said that because it's got baking soda in it. It's the worst. It's the worst. I ain't vomited, just been nauseous. It doesn't hurt anymore. I can't drink coffee. Not taking the capsules anymore. So well, Thanks for joining me. I'm going to be done now. See you on day 14. I'm not sure if I'm tired because of the weed or what, but I know the sleeping is gonna be great. I got all these pillows. They're gonna hug me and let me. I'll be back with some more videos. It's not the countdown. 'Cause I don't feel like this anyway. Turmeric during a fast accelerates benefits. There's some turmeric in my pickle juice. That's good to know. I'm gonna watch that tomorrow. Foods to never break your fast. I saw this already. I'll watch it again. See you around town. Says what it say. 3 weeks, 6 days, 49 minutes, and is this getting boring yet?